In this tutorial I will introduce the curve modifier and create a sculpted helix. I will first create a helix curve, then I will assign this path to a sculpted cylinder, and end up with the helix shape. Please take care to work in front view, otherwise you will face unexpected distortions. I also assume that you start in object mode. First, let us create a helix curve. I will use the screw tool for this step. Start with an empty mesh, hit the space bar, then click Add Mesh, Empty Mesh. Now go to Edit mode and add 2 vertices. Hold down the Control key and press the left mouse button where you want to create the vertices, and then select the whole edge. Note that the relative position of the vertices determines how the helix will be oriented in the 3D space. Now locate the screw function in the Edit button panel. Right below the function button you can specify the number of turns. I will set it to 3. Then I click the screw button. Use the Alt key and press the right mouse button to select one of the vertex edge loops. Use the Delete key to delete the edge loop. The remaining vertices build a set of connected edges. Let us select all of them and subdivide them. Then smooth the curve a bit, and finally stretch it along the Z-axis. Now go to Mesh, Scripts, Edges to Curve. By now Blender has silently created a pass object. We can see that we deal with 2 objects by moving the active object upwards along the Z-axis. Let us examine the object in Edit mode. You see that the object contains a pass decorated with a set of arrowheads, all pointing towards the pass direction. Rename this object to Helix Pass. Go back to object mode, select the second object and delete it. We do no longer need it here. Now we have finished the first part. We will get back to the pass object in a moment, but let us first go to front view and add a cylinder sculpting. Use 4 faces in X and 16 faces in Y, set 2 subdivision levels, enable subsurf, and ensure that you use the Kettle-Clark smoothing. Unfortunately, Primstar sometimes makes wrong boundary calculations when you enter face counts by hand. In such cases, the input fields will be rendered with a black background, and the build button gets disabled. If this happens to you, then decrease one of the face counts with the adjacent arrow down key, and increase it again. Now Primstar has corrected the data, and you can build the object. Let us inspect the cylinder in Edit mode. Rotate the mesh so that it can later be enlarged by scaling it along the X-axis. Also scale down the cylinder radius by pressing S-Shift-X. We have finished the second part, and now we will proceed by connecting the cylinder with the pass by using a curve modifier. Go to Object mode. Then locate the modifier stack, and add a curve modifier. By default the dominant axis is X. Hence the object will be modified along its X-axis. Note that we also have rotated the cylinder earlier, to allow stretching it along the dominant axis. Now enter the name of the pass object into the input field of the modifier. You can enter the first few characters, then hit the Tab key to automatically complete the input data. Finish by pressing the Return key. When the object is now moved along the X-axis, then it actually will be forced to move along the pass. And on top of this, it will be bended along the curvature. Since our goal is to create a helix along the entire path, we only have to scale the cylinder along the x-axis, and its curvature will automatically follow along the path. When the object size along x exceeds the path lengths, then the object ends up in a straight line. Let us see what happens when we apply the modifier right now. First, we get a warning that the selected modifier is not the first on the modifier stack. Note that the modifier stack is always processed from top to bottom, and the order of processing influences the resulting mesh. Applying a modifier further down in the chain effectively is equivalent to moving it on top of the stack. Hence, the order of processing will be changed, and unwanted distortions may appear, as we can see here. Let us revert this step and see what happens when we just change the order of the modifiers. You can do this by using the small up-down arrow keys available on each modifier. Indeed, now we see the exact same distortion as before when we applied the modifier. Let us now rearrange the original modifier order. We will now apply all modifiers from top to bottom. And now we no longer see any distortion. When we go to edit mode, we also see that now all sculpted vertices have been created. Now we can safely bake the sculpting. Keep the default settings and bake. Now let us examine the baked sculpt mat. Ensure that you go to object mode. In the UV image editor, click Image, Import as Sculpted. Move the Sculpted a bit along the x-axis, and check it for errors in the mesh. You also can set Smooth. This will let the object appear similar to how it will look in Second Life. Unfortunately, we face another bug in this step. The object will be partially rendered in black. To fix this, go to Edit mode and immediately return back to Object mode. Now the display is corrected. Now let us see how this helix looks in Second Life. I have shown you how you can create a helix by using a curve object. The important step was about converting a set of mesh edges to a proper curve. We also have seen how we can apply a curve modifier to a sculpted frame, and we know now how we can examine the quality of a sculpted before we actually move it to Second Life. If you have any further questions, please ask me for help. And do not forget to send me a small donation if you like this tutorial. See you later.